Welcome back to the most audacious EMS podcast on planet Earth, the Paramedic AF Show. We're here to challenge, encourage, and sometimes hurt your feelings. This isn't for the weak, the woke, or the apathetic. This is a show for the ones who show up and give a damn, the bold and the brazen. So stand up, stay vigilant, and enjoy the show.
And welcome back to the Paramedic AF Show.
Hey, we're back to doing that now.
Have to throw in an oldie but a goodie sometimes.
I know. We've got a new table set up here, which gives us a lot more room for stuff, but we're adjusting to the new setup. So you can't see it, but
it's pretty cool.
Jinx, show me a soda.
There's one in the fridge.
I know, I put them there.
So we're on TikTok.
Yes. And it's been wild to see how I did not expect that to take off. Like, I knew we were dealing with a niche market, sort of, and like just Facebook was kind of stagnant a little bit with followers and like new followers. Engagement was hit or miss, and then suddenly like poof, I guess we found where everybody is. Everybody's on TikTok.
I mean, think about this field, though. There's so many of us that have ADD, and the short videos and then choosing the longer videos is so much better.
But see, that's what I use Facebook Reels for. So I know I'm weird.
You're old.
I'm weird. But that's a new thing. Like, YouTube Shorts also get me sucked in sometimes. So I think I've had like such a, not a stigma against TikTok, because obviously I use it, but like I know it's so addictive to people. So like I generally don't use it. Unless, like, we're looking at stuff together.
He's TikTok shaming me. It's fine.
I'm just saying what I normally do. So, like, just, I guess, seeing all of you guys on there, I was like, well, I guess that's where everybody is. Cool. So
today, we want to give, well, I was going to say advice, but we don't want to give advice. We want to talk about stuff. Well, I mean, give advice, but that's not just what it is. But it's kind of like tips for newbies and probies. And when we say newbies, yes, it's primarily like the new providers, the new EMTs, the new EMRs that are coming into the field. But also some of this is very much applicable to new paramedics and old paramedics.
Well, but it's not just, it's people who are newly certified and people who were new at a job, new somewhere. So maybe you've worked in EMS already, but you're starting off new somewhere.
There we go. Just the newness of something.
Or you may be somebody who's been in EMS for a while, but you just recently leveled up your certification, so you're at advanced EMT or paramedic now when you were at EMT for a while. So, and that's a huge learning curve. We've talked about that a good bit, because you didn't believe me. But when you go from being an EMT, even a really competent EMT, to becoming a higher cert, everybody looks at you differently, everybody treats you differently, and it's bullshit, but it's the way life is. So you got to just suck it up and deal with it sometimes. But we wanted, especially since now with you having been in education for a while, and with as many people as we know who are entering this field, who are leveling up to be paramedics, this is stuff that is coming up a lot more in our circle of friends and acquaintances, so we wanted to talk about it a little bit more with you guys. So this is our 10 tips for newbies and probies and other such titles.
I was about to say, because I think we just talked about everybody in some form or fashion.
Yeah. I guess we'll just go with these. We'll just alternate who introduces them. So
I'll take even numbers.
That's good, because I was going to actually ask to do the odd numbers. But they're not numbered, so just watch what we're doing. We have a monitor up here now, too, that we can both look at rather than me just, like, fiddling around on my laptop. So the first tip for you new folks, new hires, new certified, ask the stupid questions. If it's something you don't know, even if it seems stupid, or something that you should know already, ask somebody. Hey, you know what? It's been a while since I went over that. I haven't gone over that since school. Can we go review this real quick? Hey, I'm stumped on this one, patient that I'm dealing with. I don't know what the best course of action is or which med to do first. What do you think? Or if it's just, hey, what is this weird ass thing on the truck? Like, when's the last time you saw a meconium aspirator on a truck?
One of our previous jobs. One of our previous jobs.
Do you know how to use it? Because, like,
Yes,
I mean, I
I
remember.
worked in the NICU.
Okay, well, fair. That fair point. I never had to use one. I learned how to use it in school, but I've never had to use it since. Like, and I don't think most places carry it
I
anymore. If
have
they
such
do,
a
I remember one service we worked at. It was literally like taped up on the back of a cabinet wall. Like,
I have such a big fucking mouth. I'm sorry.
it's fine. We'll bleep it out. It's
Well, okay. So along with this, something I've heard frequently is fake it till you make it. And like, yes, but no. So like, there's a certain level of, I guess you could say, confidence that you shouldn't fake like arrogance, but like don't completely give in and fold like a, wet paper towel when you get to a stressful call. But don't fake having knowledge that you don't have. Because if you get on a critical call and don't know what you're doing, you could end up making it worse. Or, yes, in theory, you could fake it on a call and then go research it after, but it's better to just ask somebody.
fine. And if your patient has a random weird condition, ask them about it. Like, I can't remember the name of it, but I ran a patient one time who had this condition where she had endometrial tissue in her lungs. So every month when she would have her cycle, she would have a pneumo.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Talk about some pucker factor.
Dude, I know what I'm looking up when we're done with this
Like,
podcast.
like seriously, she told us the name, and my partner and I were like, "Wait, what the fuck is that?" But it's a legit. There's like, I think maybe 24 people in the world that have it.
Oh, 100%.
Like it is super obscure. But ask them questions about it. Don't act like you know it.
Well, just like if you have a piece of like home equipment, like a home ventilator, and you're like, holy shit, I'm a BLS truck. I've never seen this before. I don't know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
The patients and the families are literally experts. Same with the people that have the rare medical conditions. They usually, unless it's like a brand new freaking condition, they usually know about it. Like one of my favorite that we ran into in an area was Chiari malformation. I had already known about it because of searings in the spine and some other stuff going on from other patients and research. But when we ran this lady, my partner and supervisor were like, what the actual fuck is that? I was like, oh my God, I know something. But they're experts in it. So ask the dumb question, even if. What is the expression? There's no such thing as a stupid question, only stupid answers.
I think it's the stupid questions when you don't ask.
Or yeah, it was something like that.
Something to that effect, but
basically
ask the stupid questions.
Ask the question. Because also the people that you're asking, they were once new. Don't let that paramedic, don't let that doctor, don't let that whoever the fuck you're asking the questions, don't let them make you feel stupid for asking. Because at some point in their life, even if it was, when they were like 6 years old, whatever, at some point in their life, they did not know that information.
Yeah. So that's stupid questions.
Yes. Which kind of leads into, it's always okay to ask for help, no matter how seasoned you are. It might just be a matter of you need hands, whether it's you just need a firefighter for lift, or a couple firefighters for lift assist. Whether I can't tell you. There have been several times where I've called for, when I was on a transport truck, where I called for ALS intercept. And I remember this one time, a critical care paramedic on a QRV was my intercept, and him and a baby doc, they did ride-alongs. The baby docs did ride-alongs at this service with EMS. They got on the truck, and I was like, hey, I've literally done everything for the CPAP patient, but he's kind of at that borderline, like nodding off, but really not nodding off. And I just want you here in case we have to RSI. And we joked, we ended up not RSIing him, but we just joked that at that point, they were my emotional support paramedics. So like sometimes it's better, like we all tell students, it's better to ask for it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's okay to have help show up. Like, don't be dismissive of help that shows up. Now, me personally, if I cancel you, I canceled you for a reason. Like,
yeah,
I'm good. But I do appreciate the people that show up. Just be like, hey, do you need anything? No? Cool. But even not just, in the moment on a call, but in general, it's okay. Like you said, it goes with the stupid questions one, but it's okay to admit to somebody that, hey, you know what, this kind of thing is not my strong suit. Like, I'd really like to pick your brain about it. I'm not really confident in it. I know it objectively, but I don't. It's not second nature to me. So ask for help on that stuff. It's okay. It's totally fucking fine.
Mm-hmm.
So that, I promise not all of these are completely like stair step related. This is kind of the way it fell. The third one is don't stop learning. And I don't just mean like, in service training, foam frat, foam ed, all that stuff. But when you're new somewhere, where I've seen this happen a lot, there's two examples. One is you have people that come from out of state to work in an agency, and literally all of orientation, half of what you hear out of their mouth is, well, when I worked at such and such a place, this is how we did stuff. Well, motherfucker, sorry, that's not how we do things here. And yes, the learning should run both ways, but when you are new somewhere, shut your mouth, learn how they do things, absorb it. It may work for you, it may not. It may not be the best way to do things. But you're not going to be able to objectively assess that if you don't shut the fuck up and learn it and give it a fair shot. So I see that. I see newer people, like fresh out of school newer people, who don't want to learn. They're just like, they're just either so apathetic that you have to question why they even showed up for the job, or they just don't want to hear other ways of doing things. They don't want to learn other things from other people. They don't want to see what your techniques are, what your reason for doing things a certain way is.
I was about to say, I think sometimes you get the providers that are a little bit arrogant. They're like, I learned everything in school. I know what I'm doing.
The fuck you did.
Well, and something that kind of plays into this that I really like to do, actually, I think I told you I did it on my call yesterday, is end of call reviews. And I know we've talked about it before.
Talked about that a bit.
We've talked about it before, but with the don't stop learning, whether you work with a crew for the first time ever or if it's a crew that you run with every single call, I'm talking about if you're on a QRV, but like, you and your partner, even if you've been partnered for, 2 days versus 2 years, it's never going to hurt, whether it's an ALS or a BLS call, at the end of the call, be like, hey, what went right? What could have gone better? Or like, do you have any questions, comments, concerns, bitches, gripes about this call? Because like, I flew a patient out yesterday, and when the flight crew texted me an update, we had each other's numbers. I was like, hey, is there anything I could have done differently for y'all? Like, not necessarily in patient care, but like, hey, is it easier for y'all if I know I'm flying you out and haven't done interventions yet and the patient has vasculature? Would you prefer the way the patient lays in the helicopter, right AC versus left AC? Technically all of us can, work around anything.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of one of those things like, hey, what could have gone better?
Yeah. Well, and with that, learning to listen to critique, whether you like where it's coming from or not.
And not getting offended.
And not taking it personally.
Well, yeah.
I mean, kind of potato. But be willing to hear what other people have to say. That doesn't mean you have to do anything with it. You just listen. Because people are going to talk. You're going to meet some nasty, awful, salty people in this job if you haven't already.
Including doctors, nurses,
yeah,
each other,
your coworkers. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people that use this field as an excuse to be shitty human beings. And you should be doing better than that. But you also have to deal with them. You have to work alongside them. And you can't help that. That's outside of your control. It's everywhere. You can't go to like, oh, I'm going to go to this service. They don't. Oh, no, they're there. They're there. I promise you they're there. Mm-hmm. And everybody has to have an opinion about you. Learn to listen and extract what you can. It may be that 90% of what they say is absolute fucking horseshit. But there may be a nugget, 10% nugget in there that is actually applicable to you, that you should actually consider, that you should take to heart. So, Be willing to learn. Don't stop getting that feedback. You're in it 10, 20, 25 years, still listen to the feedback.
Mm-hmm. We could probably go on with that one forever.
Oh, yeah, that's a whole other episode.
I'm going to scoot on to number 4. Prioritize potty breaks and meals. And I understand, there are some areas, some services, whatever, inter-facility, 911, flight, whatever you're doing, that there are certain things that you can't help. But there's also some things that we can do to help prioritize it. So, like, I worked with this one paramedic at a service that she literally trained her body to, if she's at the hospital, she took 5 minutes to go pee. And it got to a point where we could go to the hospital, immediately clear, pop another call, be back in 20 minutes, and literally she would look at me and go, I have to go pee. Even if she came back, she's like, oh, nothing came out. Literally, it was just like her and her body knew, like, they associated the hospital with peeing. And I'm going to tell you right now, probably TMI, but when I first got into this field, I had entirely way too many UTIs because I would literally drink water and drink water and drink water and then hold it and hold it and hold it, like painfully hold it. And I would feel guilty. We went to the hospital, we took the patient to the hospital, we had to hold the wall, it had been like 20, 30 minutes, and it's like, oh my God, it's time to clear. No, prioritize your fucking health. Go to the bathroom. Now, with meals, sure, you're going to have busy days, and maybe not everybody, is stationed at a static station. Maybe you're stationed at QTs or whatever gas station you have local. In Northwest Arkansas, they have a gas station chain called Come and Go. I'm sorry, random piece of information.
Did you know they're rebranding? I saw an article about that.
Like Come and Go?
Yeah, they're doing a corporate rebranding.
To what?
I don't know, but something other than that.
Like they're changing their name?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a shame because Come and Go was like, Come and Go and Casey's was equivalent to, it was like QT and Spinks made a baby. Oh my God. It was almost like a Buc-ee's, but like Northwest. Sorry, totally sidestep. When it comes to meals... Well,
that's relevant to meals and stuff.
I mean, yes, there's some gas stations that are better than others. I would also argue that there's some, I almost said restaurants, some grocery stores that have better options than others. Like I want to say restaurants. The grocery stores that have like the salad bars or like the hot
olive
field
bar.
Yes, the olive bar. Daniels and Ingles horror.
Oh my God. That.
But there are times like
you need a potty break after that one.
But there are things that you can pack, whether it's snacks or if you're working a 12-hour shift, bring a bring a cooler.
Sounded like you said bring a Colt.
I mean, we're kind of a cult, but anyways.
No, that's the Buc-ee's people are a cult. That's a fucking cult if I ever saw one.
It was what?
Worse than Chick-fil-A. Anyway.
Whole other side story that we could go on to forever. But it's really important because if you're not nourishing your body, eventually it's going to fail. Like I know that sounds fatalistic. It sounds, over dramatic, but I mean, there are people with low blood sugar problems. If you're not like Daniel and I who do intermittent fasting and you're not you're used to eating every 4 hours and you go 5 or 6, there is a science to being hangry. If anybody did not know that, there is a science to being hangry. Sure there is. Shut up. I shared it on Facebook. Go look.
Because clearly that's a reliable resource.
It referenced an NIH. We're going to fist fight on video.
Just shake the cameras a little bit real quick.
Prioritize meals and potty breaks.
Well, and I have no shame in admitting, like, I don't care how many reports I'm down. If it's time to eat, fuck reports.
Well,
I'm going to fucking eat.
If I'm too tired or I'm too hungry, my brain does not work well. You're going to get a shitty report out of me.
Well, but it's just, and it's at this point too where I understand that, no, you shouldn't drag ass at work beyond reason. And again, this is just, it depends on where you work, what kind of system you're a part of. But like, especially, I really, grasped this more when I worked in a facility, but I translated it when I went back to doing 911. Take 5 extra minutes at the hospital to grab a snack. Pack food that you can take with you on the truck. doesn't mean that that's what your end meal is gonna be. But we all have days where we get busy. So hey, keep an emergency pack of beef jerky.
Both of us are having word salad tonight.
But, have an emergency pack of beef jerky. Now, for me personally, that emergency pack is going to turn into snack time. But think intentionally about those things because you will need it. And it's okay to take that extra few minutes to go take a shit. It's okay to take those few extra minutes to get something to eat. Because, yes, we are downtime. We're free to do what we want. But we're also never guaranteed downtime.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're going to need to be behind reports, cool. Go take a shit. Like, sometimes that's what you need to just clear your head a little bit after a bad call. But go do that. Go decompress. Well, that's part of taking care of yourself.
Well, it's better to have your beef berkey or whatever you said.
My Jeef berkey.
Oh, yeah, there you go. It's better to have that. That's just an example. Pick what you want. But it's better to have a snack that you pre-plan that's relatively healthy than getting, like, donuts at QT or, Dunkin' Donuts or whatever. It's still having some kind of sustenance, at least it's protein.
Yeah. So the next thing we want to talk about is use your vacation time.
Like, actually.
Yes, use your vacation time. Now, we're not going to get into how to take mental health days using your sick time because we believe in pleading the fifth. So, what I am going to say, if you have PTO established, obviously, if you have trips that you're looking, that you're wanting to save up for, you're getting married, you're, going to do some family trip, whatever. Okay, cool. Save up that time. But also use that time. I know people who would build up like 300 or 400 hours of sick time.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, work's not that fucking important. It's not. Go live your life a little bit. We already work too fucking much. Take some vacation time. Go take a trip. Even if it's just, to a state park where you can go camp out for a night and just decompress out there. Or you want to drive, do a day trip somewhere. You want to go to a fucking aquarium. I don't care. Take some time off. This job is not worth killing yourself over. Take the time off. It's not fucking, they're giving it to you. You've earned it. You're getting paid for it.
I was about to say, I feel like with some, can't speak for everybody, but collectively, some people feel guilty taking it. Like, even if they schedule it, like, let's say I decided I'm going to take a shift off 2 weeks from today.
Mm-hmm.
And I take the time off, and then, like, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, whatever, before that day, they start paging out time that, like, this person's sick, 5 people are sick, they've all called out. It's like, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't take my PTO, and no.
You're a better person than me. I don't experience that emotion at all.
This is an example, Linda.
Okay.
Nobody said I actually feel this way.
If you feel that way, you're a better person than me.
I would say pleading the fifth here, Linda. Because no, you earned it. You scheduled your life around it. You have earned that time. Don't let anybody make you feel guilty. Mm-mm. Everybody. It kind of happened to me today. I had a part-time job message me and ask if I could pick up time today, but today is my only day off for the next 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. We already had a bunch of family time or stuff scheduled that I had to catch up on. Mm-hmm. I ran some bad calls yesterday but I felt guilty. I'm like, oh, but they need me. And Daniel's like, but we have family stuff. It's fine.
Yeah. We have stuff already planned. So use that time. Mm-hmm. Take the time off. Decompress. Get over yourself. Rest.
If you died, they would replace you. They would post your shift today.
Yeah, they might. I mean, some places might give you a week. Maybe.
They would at least page out the time. They're not going to.
Oh, yeah, paging out the time. I thought you meant opening the position.
They would probably do that within a week.
Yeah. And I'm not talking shit about our current bosses. It's just reality. That's just the way the world works right now.
If you didn't see it on the news, Wells Fargo had a lady that died on a Friday. They found her on Monday and then posted her job the next day.
Yeah, that's bullshit. I think I did a shift short about that.
Yeah.
I think I did. Yeah. I'll post the link to that in the comments.
Oh Lord. So
yeah.
Speaking of good and bad providers.
I love
the grass may be greener on the other side, but the cows still shit in it. So, kind of what we mean by this. is, and can't speak for all areas within, the country, the world, whatever, but at least collectively in our area, the upstate of South Carolina. For the most part, the average pay is about the same. You have some that the base pay is more than others, but then the ones that is a little bit lower, they pay shift diff and weekend differential and all kinds of stuff. And often what happens is people will start working for a service and they'll be unhappy, whether it's pay, whether it's protocol, whether it's shifts, whether it's coworkers. Pick something that people often complain about, and they're like, "Oh my god, this other service, they pay more." Or, "Oh, they talk about being a family." Or, well, you can't really argue with better protocols, but like as a whole,
That was kind of hard to argue with.
yes. But as a whole, usually what we see is people are enticed by pay or shifts. And although, yes, like on paper, something may be better, but everywhere is going to have a pay problem. You could probably find a lot of places that have better protocols than you. You are probably always going to have a problem child. Nowhere's perfect.
Oh yeah,
you're gonna have a problem child no matter where you go. So like
children, there's a whole clan of them.
Well, I mean, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, but the biggest thing with picking where you work and making job changes is focusing on what you need. Like anytime Daniel and I have made job changes in our career, yeah, we might have had a problem partner, or, oh, this job pays more, this and that, all the rest of it. But for the most part, we have made job changes based on the shift schedule availability, based on what we had going on in our home lives, if that makes sense. Like we decided that we wanted to prioritize family over the job, and decided, hey, for, this time, this season of our lives, we need this type schedule.
Well, and I think we have to look at the ecosystems of the agencies and realize that not only is each agency different, but within each agency, each shift is different.
Yes.
And you may have a service where you're like, you know what? I really couldn't stand the place because of XYZ, da 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 da. But this one shift, they had it fucking going on. And I fucking loved being there and I loved working with them. To some people, but even in that, not just are the shifts different, but everybody's going to have different priorities that they weight differently.
Yes.
So to some people, money, that's the top thing.
Notch. Yep.
The paycheck is the final decider on that. And to a degree, that is, I mean, I guess there's kind of a normal variation on that everybody factors that in. It gives it a lot of weight.
Well, that's what I was saying. In this area, pay for the most part is about the same.
Yeah, I mean, there's some variation. You get up to like maybe as much as like a $7 or $8 variation per hour. Yeah, there's some of them. Some of the agencies we work around, they get paid a good $6, $7, $8 more an hour than we do.
Well, you also have to look at turnover though, because those places that come to mind, their turnover is significantly high, so they pay more to get you in the door, and then everybody's like, "Oh shit."
No, I agree. I'm just saying, as far strictly on the pay conversation, there is a good bit of variety, but again, like we say, there's other factors that weigh in, and those factors vary throughout your career. There's things that are important to me now that I didn't give two flying fucks about before, and vice versa. There's some things I'm like, you know what? I've been around enough. I've seen enough. I'm really not worried about that. That's just that's a no factor. I accept that. Moving on. There's other things that are more important than that.
Daniel no longer works 12 days in a row. He likes his days off.
For real though. Like, I don't objectively, I don't think that 24-hour shifts are a healthy thing.
Which is hilarious.
Chronic in general. Now, we have the perfect setup with a 24/72 schedule and low call volume. That's the kicker right there. Is we've got it all. Really.
For the record, if you just tempted the EMS gods with my black cloud and I get butt fucked on my next shift, I'm coming after you.
I'm the one who's working tomorrow, so if anybody's getting shit fucked, it's me. But anyway.
But you're also the whitest of white clouds, and I had a day.
Yeah. So I just realized something, too. I was looking at our list. We have 11 things on this list, not 10. I don't know how that happened. I missed something somewhere.
I can't count.
Well, Mongo can't count.
but along with that, there's something else that we want to talk about.
Oh, yes.
You can introduce it. Go on, Linda.
This is my favorite. So, anywhere you go, there are written policies and there are unwritten policies. Now, this cuts both ways. There's good unwritten policies, general expectations. They should still be communicated to people because you should not assume. You should not assume anything because it makes an ass out of you and me. We all know that. It's been around for a while. But there are unwritten policies that need to be challenged. I've worked for places where, sure, you could call for med control to get an order to do something. By the way, something that everybody else has on standing orders that you didn't. But anyway, you could call, but it was frowned upon, and you'd get talked to if you did. Cool. I'm going to do it anyway. Because you can't fucking stop me because that doctor said that it was okay. Mm-hmm. And key thing here, it's within my scope of practice. This is something that I feel very passionately about that we need to start challenging in EMS is unwritten policies. The ones that are, oh, well, you could do this. This would be the best interest of the patient, but because of money and resources, this is what we want you to do instead. I understand this is a business, but guess what? I'm going to do what's in the best interest of the patient. Suck it up. Don't care. You give me the tool, I'm going to fucking use it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do what's in the best interest of the patient. And that applies to resource management as well. Whether, if you, and we don't actively have this problem, but I have been in places where there's a problem before where, oh, well, we don't want you to fly out certain kinds of patients. We want you to take them all to this other place. Well, where's that in the policy? It's not, but this is what we want you to do. Mm-hmm. Excuse the fuck out of me. I have a paramedic brain. I have an EMT brain. EMTs can do this shit. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm going to take the patient where they need to go. So
shit, there are some fire departments that can go ahead and auto launch a bird depending on mechanism and everything else, like if it's a trauma.
Yeah.
I think one of the most shocking unwritten policies that I ever had is I had Solumedrol on the respiratory protocol at a service that I worked for, and as a paramedic who got a good education and understood the reason for giving it and all the rest of it, I gave it to a respiratory patient. So when I had to go restock with a supervisor and I said, I need Solumedrol, literally this supervisor whipped their head around, looked at me, was like, why the fuck do you need that? Why did you give it? I was so taken aback. I was like, because
it's good medicine.
And it's literally in our protocol. I did what is in the written protocol.
And mind you, a place that historically loves cookbook medics, but anyway.
Yes. And I was like, it's literally in the protocol. It's on my truck. It's on my truck. And it was, oh, well, we don't see the benefits of it in the field, so like nobody gives it. I'm like, well, I'm not nobody.
Nobody is lazy as fuck.
Well, that too. But
get the damn medicine.
That's it. Even the written protocols, there's some people that believe the unwritten protocol don't do it. I still think my favorite places to work are the ones that view protocol as guidelines. They're going to guide you in the direction that you should go, but they understand that, as you say, patients don't read the textbook. They don't know how it's going to work. And sometimes, even if you have a patient who's in AFib RV... AFib...
That's what it looks like.
Stop. AFib RVR, the answer is not always to give the cardism right off the bat. Because of various things, you have to be able to assess the patient.
Well, and you can get tunnel vision too, where like, and one of my little favorite stories, which I won't go into the full story on, but short version had a GI bleed that I had to give atropine to. And which we were like, well, why the fuck are we giving atropine on that kind of call? Well, it made sense because the medications the patient was on, her compensatory mechanisms were being interfered with. So guess what? We gave atropine and magically compensatory mechanisms were able to function again. So, point being...
Ooh, off-label uses for medications are also my favorite. Did you know if you have a choking patient, you can give glucagon and it helps the throat relax?
Did you know that lisinopril is an antipsychotic medication?
No, it's not actually. Everybody who's listening, it is not actually. There is a long-ass fucking, this little twat waffle wanted to tell me that an off-label use of an ACE inhibitor as an antipsychotic.
I knew that was going to get you.
Actual, you're going to make me so fucking mad.
It's okay. It's fine.
Actual,
we're moving along.
Good.
You can tell it.
Off-label use medication. Like glucagon for chokings.
Oh, yes. So, the grass may be greener on the other side, but there's still cow shit out there.
Yes.
So just be aware of that. You're always going to have that.
Yes.
This is another one of my personal favorites. And this is one that I've had to come to terms with a little bit more, especially the first part. Don't argue with one-uppers, but don't be a doormat. So, for those of you who are new, most people don't give a fuck about how excited you are, unfortunately. They also don't give a fuck about all of your firsts, all of the new experiences that you're having. You're going to be confronted with that a lot. You're going to be excited about stuff. You're going to be wanting to tell everybody that'll listen about this cool call that you ran. And the words won't even finish coming out of your mouth. And someone's going to be like, well, let me tell you about the time that and they've just completely tuned you out. Don't get butthurt by it, because it's going to happen. We're warning you now. This is going to happen. And you can't stop the people that are going to do it. They're going to keep doing it, and they do it to every fucking buddy. And if you're not someone that inflates their ego, then they're not going to want you around. So, accept that.
Well, and I will say, one-uppers are very common in this field. But then you also, and this is where, I hate to put it this way, but you really need to listen to wording. Because then you'll have somebody like me who, like, whether it's an experienced provider or a baby or whatever, they'll tell me a story, and I just love medicine. Like, I don't make EMS my life, but if we're on shift or if we're actively talking about it, I love medicine. You tell me a cool story, I'm like, oh my God, that reminds me of this. It sounds similar. And like, I might share a story. Not even meaning for it to be one-upping, but it's like, oh my God, let's talk medicine. You know what I mean? So like, there's a little bit of a difference between like just storytelling, like, oh, that reminds me of a time, blah, 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 versus, you think that trauma's bad? My patient had blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And I think I do think it's important, though, even for people like you and me who do think that way, who think of, oh, that like brings up a memory. You'll appreciate this. Like, I think it's important for us to still be careful with that, because the babies are new. The babies, they need some affirmation. If they made a good call, if they caught a STEMI they weren't expecting. To me, like, catching a STEMI is supposed to be a no-brainer. Like, boom, it's right there. Cool. Like, but for somebody who's new, they're like, oh my God, I called my first STEMI. That's so fucking cool. Or their first stroke alert, or their first trauma, or the first needle decompression, all of that stuff. Let them have that fun. Let them express it, people. Get better at this. Fix it.
Well, and what I would say, this I think also falls back on doing the end of call reviews, because I can't tell you how many students have gone their ride times. They're like, oh my God, I saw a blood pressure of like, 60/30. And I'm like, did you get a code summary? What's that? Blah, blah, blah. So the next ride time they go and they ask the crew for a code summary on something that they want, whether it's a 12 lead or vitals or whatever. And some of them will get it. And then I've had a couple students tell me, well, they said it's a waste of paper. And I'm like,
oh my God.
Are you serious?
Are you really
Is the
okay,
monitor...
but the people that are saying that, they don't give a fuck about supplies. They don't give a fuck about inventory.
Oh no, if anything, they're the ones that overstock shit excessively.
You'll have 20 blunt needles. I've seen it. I've seen that shit.
Well, I've also seen the ones that have like 30 end-tidal nasal cannulas, and I'm like, okay, you don't need that many. Like maybe one extra because you use it
Yeah.
on most calls,
Or
but
like
like
12 non-rebreathers.
yeah.
God.
But for those of you new coming into the field, if you're on your student ride time, or I, Danny makes fun of me sometimes, but I collect
Sometimes.
most of the time. I collect really cool EKGs. Granted, I also tend to get the like really rare the rare shit, but I like printing out an extra thing and keeping my crazy EKGs. So like for students on ride time, ask for a code summary. You think that you saw like the coolest pressure, even if I don't get butt pucker for a systolic of like 80 or whatever, if that's the lowest blood pressure you've ever seen and you want to like memorialize it or whatever until
Mm-hmm.
you get a lower one, ask for a code summary.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let them say that paper's on short supply because they're fucking
Yeah.
lying.
But with that, well, if you, the less you engage with the one-uppers, the less of a headache they are. Because if you
Yes.
don't give them the attention that they want, they'll move on to something else. But also with that, don't be, and we could go on about this for a long time. Don't be
Probably.
a doormat.
Yes.
Don't be someone that just because you're new, you get walked over all the time. Now, as we've said, there's a dichotomy here. You should be positioning yourself in a learning posture. You should be putting yourself in the position of, I want to absorb, absorb, absorb. With that said, just because you're new doesn't mean that that gives other people the right to treat you in a subpar manner. We are all still professionals. I carry the same cards in my pocket that Michelle does, or that okay, the same base ones. You have all your educator cards and stuff, but like certain
Oh,
like
but
base certifications.
yeah.
I got the exact same fucking cards, the exact same kind of ink from the exact same place as she does,
I
which is also the
print
same cards that my supervisor has.
I printed mine at the library, so it's a different printer ink.
But anyway,
Yes.
we're all on the same fucking team. So if someone is being disrespectful, belittling, overly abrasive, challenge them. Challenge them hard and say, "Hey, I appreciate what you're saying, but I don't appreciate the way you're dealing with this. This is not okay. You're not going to talk to me like this. Let's change this conversation." And guess what? They might
There's
get mad, or they might be like, "Oh, shit,"
I didn't
because someone
realize there
stood
was a
up to
dick on
them.
that call. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and there's a certain amount that you can say like on a call in front of a patient, and then there's sometimes where you need to bite the bullet, finish the call, or at least the patient care portion of it, and then after the call have the conversation.
Yeah.
Obviously, if necessary, escalate up to the chain of command if necessary, but you need to try and do it within the partnership first. And I do have to say that there are times where strong EMTs can handle so many different types of calls, and then have the paramedic come in and help. Obviously, there's going to come a point where they take over primary patient care, but they're just adding to what the EMTs can do and expanding the scope. You can still do certain things. But if let's take a respiratory call, for example. Patients on CPAP, they're agitated, it's not working, they need additional drugs. You call for ALS, ALS gets there like, no, you're like 5 minutes from the hospital, like you're just going to take this. Don't be a doormat.
Yeah.
Stick with it. This isn't fair. Put them on the fucking 12 lead. Call a supervisor. Yeah, haul ass to the hospital, but like there are certain things that can be done because it there comes a certain point where there are some calls that EMTs just should not ride,
Yeah.
regardless of how
Yeah.
strong of an EMT you are. Whether
Yeah.
it's for liability, whether it's for the patient's sake, and paramedics do fucking better.
Yeah. Don't abuse your EMTs.
Mm-hmm.
I went ahead and combined two of these because they go so well together. So we still have 10.
So, right, we fixed it.
It's
So,
even. You're welcome.
So with the next one, make and maintain friends outside of EMS. Don't make EMS your life. And it's so funny. Somebody at one point said, for example, let's say Daniel and I just met. Hey, what do you do for work? I am a paramedic. And I had supervisor, mentor, instructor, pick a word. He basically said that like the posture that a lot of people take by I am a paramedic or I am an EMT is almost like it's our entire identity. How many people, and I love your tattoo, don't get me wrong,
Oh,
but
I freely admit that that
how,
was a mistake, but
well, and how many people will get, but not just one tattoo? Because like it's one thing, just like with the military, to be proud
mhm.
of something and get a military tattoo to memorialize what you did. But how many people will get it and make it their identity? Every single selfie of them is with that tattoo. How many people? Have the bat belt and the stickers all over their car and stop.
I used to have a bat belt, but it wasn't that bad.
Okay, there was an EMT that I used to work with that literally kept an OB kit in his fucking thigh pocket. How many babies do you think he ever delivered? Like, I'm talking about the full on like Rescue Ricky bat belt. Anyways, um but something that we have grown to appreciate is having friends that are not in public service, not even in healthcare. Like my best friend, she's in social work, so like there's a certain level of it that like we can kind of
Mhm.
talk about that like we
It's a
can
little
kind
bit
of
of common ground.
yeah, that we can kind of like mutually understand. But that way our entire conversations and it like is not about work. Like when we're home hanging out with our best friends, we're home.
Mhm.
We're talking about life. She's pregnant about to have, or not about to, but going to have a baby. Like we're able to just talk about life. Work does not follow us home because, and don't get me wrong, you can be friends with your coworkers.
Mhm.
Some of our best friends are in the field,
Mhm.
but it's also having other interests outside of the field.
Well, and I think too, and I get it that it's easy to want to talk an info dump about this job when you're new or when you're newly certified. And you want subliminally you want the recognition from people that, you're part of an elite group, which you are.
Mm-hmm.
Which you are. When you sign up to work EMS, you are part of an elite group of people. Percentage of the job force, we do not make up a large percentage of it.
No.
We are a fraction of the healthcare workforce, period, much less the standard workforce. So yes, take pride in what you do. I especially, I mean, yes, I have my Star of Life tattoo, which, yeah, but I got it, within a couple months of getting out of school because going through paramedic school was not just, academically an achievement, but there was a lot of shit going on in my life.
I mean, it
And
was a literal
it was a very
season.
taxing, it was an incredibly taxing period of life for me on multiple dimensions. So to me, it was hey, this is a like I guess it was it's like a treat slash reminder, commemorating, hey, I went through a lot of shit to get this. I'm proud of it.
Well,
That's
and
okay.
when I mention the tattoo, I don't even mean like
Oh no, I
one.
know you weren't harping on
I
me.
huh?
I know you weren't harping on me. I just figured I'd clarify that for some people. Like,
Yeah.
not it's not like
And
you can't ever get one. Like,
well, and to be completely honest, like with all the tattoo ideas that we have but need money, having some kind of, commemoration or whatever of what I have achieved is on that tattoo list. But I'm talking about like the people that like, get
yeah,
paramedic
yeah,
tattooed like across their chest and like have multiple tattoos and literally make it their identity. It's not just like the semblance of the one
yeah,
tattoo, but it's the
yeah.
people that it's literally their entire world.
And that, in a way, I think dovetails into our next tip, comment, advice is prioritizing your mental health. Because a big way of doing that is you need color and variety in your life. There's other things that make you human, who you are, and are part of your identity and part of your overall well being than this job. I promise you, this job will do incredibly little to improve your well being on its own.
Mm-hmm.
It will normalize so many horrible things, and and some of it is this is what you've signed up for. And I hate to say that because I know everybody is like, well, that's not fair. When you're entering into any form of public service, and I would actually maintain that law enforcement, or at least certain aspects of law enforcement, have it rougher than we do. Because they have to marinate in this shit. They have to go to these grisly death scenes and spend hours and hours poring over details and photos. I mean, we normalize it because it's on TV, but like, I would not want that job. Well, I can deal with my shit in my own way, but the point is, if you're getting into public service, you are going to have to deal with some grisly shit. You need to mentally prepare, and you need to realize that you may not be someone who can handle that.
And
at
that's
all.
and that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
There was actually a class of high school students that came through our program, and like I think like 95% of them wanted to be doctors, and then the rest of them wanted to be nurses. Well, we had a handful of them that started going on their ride times and stuff, and literally we had one girl that said, "Fuck people. I don't want to." She literally not changed her major, but she literally decided that she did not want to do patient contact and wanted to go into research. Yeah. She's like, I can't handle it. She's like, this is not what I thought it was.
Yeah.
I can't handle, like, I don't want to deal with people.
And that's okay. Nothing wrong with that.
100%. She's stupid smart. She's going to do wonders for the people that she doesn't want to deal with.
Well, and something you and I were talking about earlier, the people that are committed to this, that really do care about doing it well, it's very easy to, it's not even a hero complex, but it's you invest in it and you want to see the positive patient outcomes. And the shitty reality is that you could have, and I think I've used this analogy before, but you could have two identical patients, genetically identical, like literally two carbon copies with the same life experiences, same routine, same diet, same exercise, all of that, and both have the same critical illness, and you do the exact same treatments. One will live, one will die. There is infinite variability in what we're dealing with in an uncontrolled environment with limited resources and at best educated guesswork. So, don't be too hard on yourself if you miss stuff. You mess something up, whatever. You can't be everywhere all the time, doing everything, knowing everything.
It's impossible to know everything. That's why doctors have specialties.
Agreed. But don't internalize it so much. Because, and this is where I would say, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying I internalize. I obsess. Like, he is 100% calling me out.
Well, I wasn't meaning to, but it was more of just like...
I can appreciate it.
And I thought about this, and it's funny because there's parallels to so many other parts of life with this statement, but stay focused on the process more than the outcomes. Stay focused on, how am I assessing my patients? How am I treating? What are my reaction times to things? How am I dealing with the changes of a patient, rather than, oh my God, I have to keep this patient alive. I have to keep this patient alive. I have to keep this patient alive. If you obsess over that, you're gonna get mental lockjaw, basically. And you're going to freeze up, you're going to freak out, you're going to do shit that you shouldn't do, or not do shit that you should do. Stay focused on the process, react, be proactive where you can, and just handle your shit as it comes up.
Well, and that kind of goes along with it. I would like the new providers, whether EMT, EMR, paramedic, whatever, however long you've been here, if you've been in it for any length of time, you've noticed this. The general public has gotten this, like, I guess you could say fatalistic or lazy, like learned helplessness attitude about their health. It's going to rub some people wrong, but there are some overweight people that say, oh, well, I'm fat because of genetics and I just can't help it. The new providers need to understand that a lot of the chronically ill patients that we go out to all the time, the overweight COPDers that are on oxygen, that are still smoking, that don't take their meds, there's a learned helplessness that they just don't care. Yeah. They don't clean up the dog shit and cat shit in their house. So, even the air quality is nasty. They're still, eating all Big Mac. And I'm talking about like, you know, we'll eat McDonald's occasionally or a Big Mac or whatever. But I'm talking about the people that do it like every single day. The COPDers. So when you come out to these chronically ill, severely, unhealthy people with like 50 comorbidities, you could put your best fucking foot forward to treat them and they may still die. And it had nothing to do with your knowledge, with the speed at which you worked, with how many hands you had, the meds you gave.
Mm-hmm.
There are some people that just die. And yes, it's partly, your fate, destiny, God's will, whatever the fuck you believe. But part of it is a lot of the general public just don't care about their health. They expect to be handed things. I mean, there are so many patients that, will skip going to dialysis and then they'll call 911 because, they're hypertensive, all of the things, and then want to go to the hospital. And as soon as you walk in, the first thing that they ask the nurse is, can you put Purewick in so I don't have to get up and pee? And they literally like just want, everything done for them. And they just expect you to come to them to do dialysis. That's just one example, but like, please understand that is the unfortunate reality nowadays.
The number one thing you should be doing to protect your mental health if you're getting into this job is to make peace with death. Yes. Make peace with death. You're going to see it. You are going to eventually be someone who has to make death pronouncements. Make peace with it. However you have to, whether it's you have to leave, whether it's more involvement in your religion, whether it's
taking PTO,
whether you need, therapy, whatever the case may be ready for it. Because that's what you're going to have to deal with. You can't escape that. That's the one thing you can never get out of in this job is people are going to fucking die.
Going to the gym.
Well, hey, that's our final point. Our final tip for all you folks. Go to the fucking gym. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying this because I'm, the pinnacle of fitness. But you need to be, we've harped on this plenty, but we're going to put in both of us are going to put in a shameless plug here. I believe that we should be setting a better example of health and wellness to our patients. Just like, I'm sorry, if you're a 300, 400 pound doctor, I guess I should clarify that because I'm 300 pounds, but I'm tall and apparently
heavily muscular.
Yeah.
Heavy musculature.
But, you understand what I'm saying. When the doc walks in looking like an Oompa Loompa and tries to lecture you about your health, do you understand that's kind of contradictory a little bit? So I think that part of our role in healthcare should be modeling some level of good health. And I know it's going to hurt some feelings because a lot of my very, 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 very dear friends smoke heavily. And don't get me wrong, nothing wrong with a good cigar every once in a while. But, again, when that's your coping mechanism, going back to some of the other things we talked about, not healthy. Alcoholism, not healthy.
You can do certain things in moderation, like sweets or desserts or, McDonald's on the occasion. You can have, your quote-unquote vice or whatever. It stopped.
It's getting late, so
within reason.
Yeah, it's moderation.
Moderation. That's the word I was looking for.
We're not all trying to get into a Mr. Olympia competition. Like, we're not having to literally count calories in, calories out. Know every single macro that's in your body at any given moment.
Yeah, but like, the simple stuff. If you can't walk upstairs without dying, or if you can't walk from here to a front door with no steps, carrying your first in airway and monitor without there's a problem. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm a little fluffy. We're not the skinniest, fittest people in the world, but we're also working on our health. Mm-hmm. And it's funny that you not the sidestep, but it's funny that you bring up smoking. I think the most ironic thing that I've ever experienced in my career is when you want to know who smokes the worst? Respiratory therapists. And I'm sure there's an exception, but I had one job where every single respiratory therapist that I worked with smoked. And I'm not just talking about like, maybe 2 cigarettes, like a whole shift, like fucking chain smoking, and yet they're talking to patients like, don't smoke, and I'm just like, you smell like a cigar or a cigarette box.
Well, and part of this is we need to be able to protect our own bodies. We need to protect our backs.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
back injuries are the number one way to end your career.
Statistically, that is very true.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the statistics are awful. But not just that, but also being able to protect yourself.
I was gonna say,
be able to defend yourself. Like, I'm sorry, if the motherfucker is tweaking and trying to kill you, I want to be able to put your ass on the ground and neutralize that threat until I get more help there. And whether it's I need to be faster so I can run away, or if I can't run away, I need to be able to deal with a threat. So this isn't about, getting on a high horse and shaming people for, being overweight. Like, it's a very important practical application here. I think a lot of people get so busy, so burned out, so stressed doing this job, they forget about something as simple as going to the gym. Mm-hmm. You can get well, maybe now they're up to like $12 or $15 a month, but you can get cheap ass gym memberships. Just go and do some shit. It'll relieve stress. It's good for you. It extends your lifespan. Like,
honestly,
why not?
Honestly, go swim some laps. Because, like, if you're not doing it for competition, it works respiratory, cardiovascular. It works your muscles. Like, it's low impact.
Well, there's what is it, the Couch to 5K app?
C25K.
Go do some shit like that.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, in experiment, find what works for you, but go do something. Go do something, because you will regret it. If you don't start now at the beginning up front of your career, it's a lot harder once you're deep into it.
Well, and like we've shared in previous podcasts, even if you're only improving or making one habit change, like 0.01% per day, guess what? It adds up.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, if we collected all the pennies, that we have ever come across in our lives, we would have a lot more money than we currently have.
Well, and a good friend of mine, he works a 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. kind of schedule. And when he started, taking his physical wellness more seriously, when you work that schedule, what's the obvious objection that people have to going to the gym every day?
Too early, too late.
Yeah, too early, too late. This motherfucker would get up at 4 in the goddamn morning and go to the gym.
God, doing that now hurts my feelings, and I don't have time to go to the gym, literally, because my commute is so long.
Well, yeah, you would have to get up at 3 a.m.
Easily.
Yeah, but point being, again, everybody's different, but find those ways that you can actually change shit and take it seriously, and it will positively impact your career. So, you have anything else you want to tuck in here for folks?
The best thing I would say is creating healthy habits. Like, if you decide that your work days are too long, you have to be able to get the kids ready for school, that's fine. You have days off. If you're 3 days on, cool, work out on your 2 days off, and then, 2 days on, 3 days off. You can still make habits, even if your schedule changes every day. Our schedules change every freaking day. But there is light at the tunnel. There are people that care. Don't be a doormat. Find what makes you happy for your season of life.
Enjoy all of your firsts.
Yes.
All of them, even the little things. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, if you learned something, good. Tell your friends. If you were offended, good. You probably needed to be. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.